So I've been hearing that meat is hard to come by these days, so I just thought it'd be kind of fun to get into the kitchen today and take some of my ground venison and turn it into a whole bunch of meals that really do a good job at stretching deer burger or hamburger, whatever it is that you want to call it. I have 3 recipes: tortilla beef bake, easy lasagna, and macaroni taco hot dish. I might also make the Pioneer Woman barbecue recipe. I've had that earmarked for about a week or longer to make, and so I might get going with that one too. That one doesn't quite stretch meat as far as how I'd like to, though.
We got the rocket!
Yeah, oh, you got the rocket!
The top is still up in the tree with that whole cone, and the parachute was up there. I was like, So I went back in the woods, and this was covered with some leaves.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you got that one. So if you have a pound of hamburger and you try to turn that into burgers, you guys know that you're going to get 6 burgers probably at the most. And I don't know, if you have a family, you know, any more than like 4 or 5 or 6 people, like depending on your eaters, that does not go very far. So what I was hoping to do here today is to show you a few ways. Are you hot? It's not hot at all. It's actually pretty cold. Well, not pretty cold. It's like 54. Okay, but what I want to do today is I want to just show you some easy ways to stretch ground beef to make a meal that's going to last, like for my family, each of these recipes will last that meal, like that supper, and then we will have leftovers for the next day's lunch, and that's all on just 1 pound of burger.
Macaroni, macaroni. Why is there a recipe on the back too?
2 boxes of macaroni and cheese?
Yes, sure is. I want to help you.
Awesome. You're going to just relax here.
You have to cut it.
Because I have to get it to fit in here. So can you get a medium-sized pot that we can make the macaroni in? We have to boil water. We need water in it. My best tip for making ground beef or ground venison stretch as far as possible is to add onion. If your family is an onion lover, or really any kind of vegetable, if you like celery, if they like green pepper, really whatever it is, add that up to your frying or your browning ground beef.
Do you put this behind the meat or next to the meat?
There we go.
Behind or next to it?
How about next to it? That'll be a good spot. I like to add plenty of onion. I think the onion cooks up nicely, adds great flavor to the meat, and then it also stretches that meat further. It just bulks it up, and that's really what I'm going for when I'm trying to stretch a pound of ground beef as far as possible, or ground venison. I use them interchangeably. So I have only 2 onions here. I'm going to run down to the basement, and I'm going to get a few more. I don't know how many I'm going to add to my meat yet. We'll just kind of, I just kind of wing it.
Okay.
If you're noticing that these say ground beef, I know there's always new people watching my videos. These bags were cheaper than the wild game, so actually it's not ground beef, it's actually ground venison.
Done with the yellow. Another way. You get me every time.
You get me every time. What are you guys making?
I am making macaroni taco hot dish, I am making easy lasagna, I am making tortilla beef bake, and I am making barbecue.
Isn't that 4 things?
That's actually 4. Maria thought I was just doing 3. I don't think I told her about the barbecue. Okay, I'll take the lid off. Why don't you just come and pour the noodles in without the stool so that your face isn't by the steam. Get your 2 boxes of noodles and just do one at a time. Yeah, good job.
I want to see what it looks like.
So this is what all of my ground venison is looking like. I put in here 3, I would call those about medium-sized onions. And then over here, Maria is helping me make a couple boxes of macaroni and cheese. So years and years ago, I got this recipe, macaroni taco hot dish, from a friend. We had gone over to their house for a, what do you call that? Oh my gosh, a Halloween party. They had like a costume party, and I think I put on a clown costume or something. I don't know. It was a horrible costume. This is what she made. It was very, very good. I remember it just being comforting, filling. It seemed easy, and honestly, guys, I have not made it since she gave me the recipe. I don't know why I pass it up. I think it's probably because I figure if I'm gonna make macaroni and cheese and tacos with taco meat, I should just make, whoops, sorry about the lighting. I should just like make it separately, but this time I really want to be able to stretch that meat. And sometimes with tacos, sometimes the meat doesn't always want to go quite as far unless you really bulk it up with refried beans and things, but we're not doing that today. We're sticking with this. So I took out what I think to be is about 1 pound of ground beef, and I have that into this container. I'm going to add in a couple tablespoons of taco seasoning. I can link to my homemade taco seasoning recipe, and that'll be in the description box below. And it's about 2 tablespoons of seasoning mix per pound of meat. So I'm not going to add the water to this though. I'm just doing the seasoning with the meat. Stir that around really, really well. I'm going to make the macaroni and cheese just like the box says, and then I'm going to stir in a cup of sour cream.
Take a picture.
So I did half of the macaroni and cheese. I did all of the taco meat, and now about a cup, maybe just a smidge more. Okay, so we just took an injury break. Sam is going to be okay. And what I do is I'm just going to put the rest, and now everyone is very worked up and excited. Not excited that Sam's hurt, but just like, I don't know, like just kind of.
Why we're excited?
Why are you excited?
Because
Oh, now,
that broke,
yes.
and now we have a unicycle.
Right. Okay, so I'm just going to top the rest. Oh my goodness, I'm getting interrupted all the time again. We're just going to put the rest of the macaroni and cheese on top. And then I put this in glass because when I'm going to store something in my refrigerator, I really don't like to store it in those metal cake pans. I don't know, I just sometimes feel like it gives an off taste to things. So what I do is put it into a glass Pyrex. I'm going to put the cover on this. However, when I'm ready to bake this, I'm going to take off this plastic cover. I'm going to cover it tightly with tin foil, bake it at 350 degrees for a half an hour. I'll uncover it. I'm going to put on some salsa. I mean, there's no real amount. Just if you like a lot, you put a lot. If you like a little bit, a little. I might actually just put the salsa on 1/2. And then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more cheddar cheese on, and then some smashed tortilla chips, and bake it for another about 10 minutes or so until the tortilla chips seem like they've sort of crisped up a little bit, maybe even browned a little, and that the cheese is melted. And that is it. That is macaroni taco hot dish. So the next recipe is called Tortilla Beef Bake. This is very, very similar to the macaroni taco bake. Still, but just different enough that it has a little different flavoring. Let me get my beef. Actually, it's venison. Okay, again, I took out what I feel to be about 1 pound. I'm going to put 1 can of cream of chicken soup in here. I put some crushed chips into the bottom of my casserole dish here. There really, again, there isn't really an amount, maybe a cup or so. I'm going to put the beef mixture. I keep calling this beef, you guys know it's actually venison. Put my meat mixture over the top. So we need some salsa.
Mom, can I fill up the bathtub
No.
so I can play with animals in it?
Mm-mm.
But I won't get into it.
No, get a bucket outside and fill it up and play with animals outside. We're going to put some cheese on top. A pretty good amount. About 1.5 cups of cheese. Maybe even 2 cups. I'm going to put the cover on this. When I bring this out of the refrigerator, I will bake this also at 350 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes or until it's nice and bubbly all the way around the edges. And yeah, I'll bake this uncovered. And then I'm going to put some chips on top again and then put it back in for about 3 minutes or so, 3 to 5 minutes until the chips are kind of toasty. And that's really it. Serve this up with sour cream. It tastes really good. Or even just like a little side of lettuce, shredded lettuce with some ranch dressing. That tastes really good served up with this. So that is another really easy thing to do with a pound of ground meat.
Wait, Mom.
I have yet again another what I think to be about a pound of meat. I know I could look in a cookbook or online someplace and find out that like 2 2/3 cups of ground beef equals a pound or something like that, but I'm just not going to take the time to do it. I can eyeball just fine. Where did Maria? There we go. Yeah, things got a little bit crazy around here. I had just gotten a phone call before. You guys heard the phone ring probably. And right while I was on the phone, that's when Sam got hurt. And yeah, so now I'm just feeling a little bit scattered. This is just the Aldi marinara. I have tried many of the different pasta sauces, you know, the red pasta sauces from Aldi, and we've just found that this one seems to have the best flavor. I would love it for you guys to go over to my community tab, community page, and let me know what your favorite brand of like spaghetti or marinara sauce is, because that is one thing. Okay, thank you. All right, they got the old bird feeder down. Just a minute, because that is one thing that I always struggle with, is trying to get a good red sauce that we all seem to like. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'm not going to use the whole thing because the original recipe does call for a 32-ounce jar, but as you know, everything seems to be shrinking these days, and so except like our waistlines. And so since these are 24-ounce, I used, you know, this whole thing, and then I just used a portion of the second jar. I'm going to rinse this one with the water in just a second. I'm also going to put in a tablespoon of Mrs. Dash and a little extra garlic powder. Give that a really good stir. I'm going to put in 1.5 cups of water into here as well. I put the water right into this jar so I can be sure to get all of the sauce out of there. Add that in. Now that I have this all mixed, I'm just going to pour it into this skillet and let it simmer for about 10 minutes. Now, if you were just making this all by itself, you probably just brown your meat and your onion in here and then just add everything here. But since I did it in bulk, it just works well to do it like this. Today I'm using the oven-ready lasagna noodles simply because that is what Aldi carried the day I was there. I normally would not. This has enough liquid in it. This particular lasagna recipe is actually made to be one that you just put together in the pan and with plenty of water, and you don't have to pre-boil the noodles. I think it's still going to work even though these are the no-boil noodles. I hope so anyway. Okay, so now we just have to layer everything. Since I'm making this one tonight for supper, I have it in a metal pan. I put in some of the sauce. I'm going to put 3 noodles. I'm going to put in some more sauce. I'm going to do 1/3 cup of cottage cheese. If your favorite is ricotta, that works as well. And then some mozzarella cheese. And 3 more noodles. right, so I'm back now. My battery did die before, but I foiled up the lasagna and I have it in the oven at 350 degrees, and it's going to go for a full hour. Even though we're quite a ways out from our supper time right now. Let's see, I think that went in at about 3:30 and it's only 3:40 right now. Lasagna is one of those things that I do think tastes better if it is given the ample amount of time for cooking or for baking, and then is given plenty of time to cool and kind of set up. I don't know. To me, there's nothing worse than cutting a piece of lasagna and it just sort of all oozing and dripping all over, and then you just have like a little pile of 3 noodles left with all the filling everywhere else. So I like to give it a long time. The recipe says it should sit for 10 to 15 minutes. I don't think that's long enough. I find 20 minutes, even a half hour works for us. So next thing I'm going to do is put together the sloppy joes. I guess in our household we've just always called it barbecue, and so when I say barbecue that's what I mean, but it took me like a half an hour one time to find the recipe. I knew it was in a Pioneer Woman cookbook, and I think I have, I don't know, does she have 5 of them out now or something? And anyway, I think I have all of them. I went through every one, looking in the index, couldn't find it, and finally it dawned on me, I bet she calls them sloppy joes. So sure enough, here we are. So I have the meat already cooked, and I cooked my onion in there, and I just added in that bell pepper that I already diced earlier. I'm going to grab some garlic and some ketchup and some brown sugar. I have marked here to use a little bit less. So her recipe calls for 2 tablespoons. I'm only going to use 1 tablespoon. And then again for the chili powder, oh no, I do a full 2 teaspoons of chili powder. The dry mustard, I'm going to put in just a very scant ½ teaspoon of the red pepper flakes, because if my little kids are eating this, they don't like it too spicy. A few shakes of Worcestershire sauce. I omit the Tabasco sauce for us. I'll put in a couple shakes of salt, a couple grinds of black pepper, and then I use whatever rolls I happen to have on hand. I don't think that this barbecue or sloppy joe mix is going to come out for a supper this week. I think I'm going to use this as a lunch, because sometimes if we don't have enough leftovers from the night before, I like to have something like one week I did taco soup. I think last week I might have done chicken noodle soup, and this week I'm going to do barbecue. And then I just have something that I can pull out for lunch, so that if we don't have enough leftovers or we've run out of lunch meat, I have something that, like somebody who wants a nice hot meal, they can have something like that. So, and then, you know, I can always fix something a little bit more little kid friendly, so to speak, for my little kids, a hot dog or peanut butter or something like that. So, okay, that's what I'm going to work on. I'm not going to show you the process of this because that's it. I do just what she does in the cookbook. I'm back a little early. I have everything in the pot here. I'm going to give this a stir. I'm going to turn this on, bring it to a boil, and then I'm just going to let it simmer for, I don't know, a half an hour or so. What does the recipe say? I'd have to turn the page to see what the recipe says, but yeah, basically you're just simmering it until the green pepper are soft and the flavors go through. Since we're not going to be serving this tonight, the flavors will have plenty of time to go through as it sits and waits for us for tomorrow's lunch in the refrigerator.